Hey everybody, it's me, Ed Carbazel, here for MMAnews.com for this week's Sunday submission on Super Bowl Sunday, February 7th. It's the Sunday after KnuckleMania and UFC Fight Night, or UFC Vegas 18, or whatever we're calling it now. 184 Vegas 18, whatever we're calling it now. And I am recording this Sunday afternoon before the Super Bowl, so hopefully we can get this up for you after you watch it. I know that's the focus of the sports world today, but you'll probably catch us where this usually lives, at the MMAnews.com YouTube channel. So make sure you like, subscribe, click the bell notification for all our future interviews and news updates. This week's interviews include interviews with Drew Dober, Phil Hawes, and if you haven't watched the one with Molly Mccann before her fight last night, you'll see she kind of explains the whole leaving the gloves in the cage thing, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But stuff like that will be there. Please click the bell, like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at Carbazel. When I record these, I stream them on Periscope, which is now said to be going away the end of March. I know I was saying January, but I just saw a new update yesterday that Periscope will be going away at March. It's just switching to Twitter Live, so no big deal. So you can still catch these as I record them there. And let's get to it. So lots of news to get to. First of all, rest in peace for the Leon Spinks, the boxing community. We lost him this weekend. It was pretty sad news to get on a Saturday. He was the only guy that not took him out, but he got a won the title from Muhammad Ali back in the day. So rest in peace, Leon Spinks. If you're a boxing fan, that's definitely one that's a name that you've heard for a while. And when you're looking back at the greats in boxing history, so anyway, as the weekend started, I guess the biggest event of the weekend. I know there was a rough and rowdy thing that Barstool Sports did with Jose Canseco and some intern or something like that, but that's like it's like for that, I guess, that armchair sport crowd or whatever you want to call it. But whoever the intern was knocked out Jose Canseco, so I mean, come on, that's like a tough man competition type of stuff. But anyway, for the real combat sports, as we climb up the ladder, I guess, to it. Bare Knuckle had their pay-per-view on Friday night. Paige Vanzant made her first foray into the bare knuckle fighting circle ring, or whatever they call that. And we have some news on that up on MMAnews.com. So she issued a statement. She actually admitted that she thought about quitting, if you read the piece on it. But the thing of it is, I feel like Paige is she's got a lot of fans, obviously. She's talked about how well she does on Instagram and things like that. And one thing I got to say about her, I mean, this is my own little confession onto how I switched to not being a fan and then becoming a fan of Paige Vanzant, because of her mindset is absolutely necessary for this type of competition. I mean, it's one of the things. It's the reason why people put athletes on this pedestal that they do, because their focus is so intense on the goals they're trying to set that it's not something everyday people do. So she opened up, admitted that she actually thought about quitting fighting when she took this loss, but she lost by decision. And a lot of people, if you watch it during the final round, is when it seemed like she was getting comfortable with, competing in that environment of bare knuckle boxing. So if you haven't watched BKFC, it's a circular ring, kind of like a boxing ring, but circular, and it's designed to force action. And it looked like she was just getting into her stride at the end of the match against Britain Hart. Britain Hart picked up the win by unanimous decision. And I think that's something that we need to look at when you're looking at bare knuckle boxing like her, she's probably going to win her next fight. She's obviously not going to quit. She put on her Instagram. She put up the statement, which is on this page that I have up here from MMAnews.com. If you want to read what she said, what did she say? She says, "Last night I told my husband I didn't want to fight anymore, but as soon as the word left my lips, I knew that wasn't true." And she put up, she didn't even actually get hurt that bad. If you look at that image of her, of the cut that's on the website there. Quick story. So for me, with the thing with Paige Vanzant, I became a fan of hers in her loss to Rose Namajunas, which was weird because I was watching it because I was, I'm still a fan of Rose. But the way she, first of all, there was 2 submission attempts in that fight that she didn't tap to. So I feel like all the stuff that she does, the Dancing with the Stars stuff, all the Instagram stuff, and the stuff she does with her husband on Instagram, like for some reason that seems to override the fact that she's still a professional fighter and she's just as tough as Britain Hart or anyone else that she's lost to, or in the past. But the whole cutie pie, blonde, good-looking fighter thing always seems to override the fact that she's actually a legit competitor. So I wasn't actually that surprised when she jumped on to fight over at the BKFC. You know what I mean? Like she's tougher than she looks, and this is a testament to it. So got a question coming in here from the Periscope stream. Who wins McGregor Poirier 2? From Steve Hanmel. I want to say I think the man that prepares best will be the winner, because one thing about McGregor, as I'm talking about people that evolve off of their losses, and Paige Vanzant, I think McGregor has that in him to evolve off of a loss. So if you look at the way he lost to Nate Diaz and then he came back and sort of won the decision on that, you know what I mean? Like, he seems like one of those guys. Dana White kind of made reference to that with the whole Rocky 3 reference that he said at the post-fight press conference when he lost. So we'll see. But if you watched last week's Sunday submission, I think it was the weekend, that Sunday after that pay-per-view, I'm calling for them to rebook that in International Fight Week, that first week of July. And as I clear my throat, I realize I forgot my water in the other room. But as I'm not going to mess up the recording for it. So get ready for a lot of dad noises on this one. Yeah, that's to answer your question, Steve. That's where I think the best prepared man will win that. There's something the selflessness in Poirier, I feel like, makes him the better fighter, because he's not so much concerned with the wins, and like every time he wins or loses, whatever money he makes, he likes to put towards causes and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of makes him a more dangerous competitor in any match. Never mind against McGregor or Poirier. So that's where I stand with that one. But anyway, back to the news here. I think Paige Vanzant wins her next bare knuckle fight, and we just got to go. She's just got to let it sink in, and that was kind of like her first foray into that type of environment. And I feel that now that she's got her feet wet in the bare knuckle, what's the word I'm looking for? Stratosphere, or whatever you want to call it. Now that she's felt the whole cycle of the way the bare knuckle event goes, she'll probably be better prepared for it. So that was Friday night's big fight news. And then Saturday, obviously, was the UFC's return to Vegas. Full results are up at MMAnews.com. Volkov TKOs Overeem in the main event. Man, one thing I know, I say it over and over again as we look at the results from that event. Excuse me. The guard changes so frequently lately in mixed martial arts of these legends and names that you or me anyway, that I've followed and been behind, for years. It's almost sad when you get behind these fighters. I mean, shout out to all the guys making the name for themselves and stuff like that. Volkov was fought at Bellator and stuff like that, so I was well aware of his talents. And Corey Sandhagen with the win over Frankie Edgar, that one hurt. As a Jersey man, that one hurt a lot. You've been following Frankie Edgar as long as I have. It was definitely one of those nights where you're like, oof, the guard is changing again. It's 2021, for crying out loud. So, and combat sports, it's definitely a young man's game. You can only be in it for so long, and I think we saw that last night with those two results. But one thing I wanted to get to was, so if you didn't watch the Molly Mccann interview on our YouTube channel at MMAnews.com, there was people were, so usually when a fighter leaves their gloves in the ring, it's kind of like when wrestlers walk away from wrestling and they leave their wrestling shoes on the mat. Molly Mccann had left her in the preliminary bout. She lost a unanimous decision to Lara Procopio, and Molly Mccann had left her gloves in the cage, and people right away, because of what I just said, started associating that with her saying she was retiring. But she mentions the significance of fighting in Vegas on that night with a relationship and how it relates to her father. So she actually said it. She tweeted afterwards, "Before I get into it, I left the gloves in the cage for my dad. There's still fight left in this old dog." So she's not retiring. It was just something she did for her dad. And if you want the details on that, you should check out that video that James Lynch did with Molly Mccann, where she talks about how her father always wanted to see her fight in Vegas and, things like that. So that's the reason why that happened the way it did. She's not retiring. She's if you listen to her talk in that interview, she doesn't sound like someone that would be retired from fighting. Even if she officially retired from fighting, she'd probably be fighting, it's funny. People were like, "Oh, we'll see her in bare knuckle, whatever." She'd probably do really well in there with the way she fights. But when you lose by decision, that's not that hard of a loss as like we saw with Edgar and Overeem and stuff like that. Oh man, I think we have the highlight up on that. I don't know if I have the. You know what? Let me try to be somewhat what do they call it, objective here. Take myself out of this. I think we have the highlight up on where is it? MMAnews.com. Yeah, of course we do. See if I can play this without sound so we don't get hit here. Oh boy. All right, let me play it because it's worth noting. Tough to watch. Frankie Edgar's like the man. Oh, see, that's bad. When you fall front like that and stiff a little bit, that's really bad. Frankie Edgar is probably as tough as they come. But again, this sport is so rough. I shared a video of his interview that he did with the UFC News after that win, where he talks about, because of how rough this sport is, it's either you're going to have that happen to you or you're going to be the one doing it. And that's just the name of the game. And I mean, Frankie Edgar definitely knows what he signed up for. I mean, he's dragged enough dudes with the amount of his wins. You know what I mean? Like, it's just hard to watch. It's hard to watch because, again, I mean, that like when you hear the words veteran and legend tossed around in combat sports, it usually comes close to a competitor fighter's retirement. So, I'm going to change off that page, go back to the results. But yeah, I mean, listen, now if you didn't respect Corey Sandhagen's place in that whole division, now you have to, after picking up a win like that over someone like Frankie Edgar. I mean, when I think about Frankie Edgar, I remember when they put him up against Yair Rodriguez, and that was the fight that he was supposed to lose because Yair Rodriguez was the new, flippy, fancy, guy in fighting, and Frankie Edgar literally, I mean, showed like, okay, I forget what he said at the post-fight interview. I remember it like it was yesterday. He was like, he's good, he's good, and he could probably be a champion one day, but it's just not, just not going to happen for him today. And it was kind of like, yeah, man, that's the guy that he is. So we'll see what happens as the week goes on. I mean, Frankie Edgar doesn't strike me as someone that walks away easily from the sport, but when you take a loss like that, it might be one of those times. I mean, who knows what is? I know there was reports of like Sandhagen walking over to the corner and talking to his coach Mark Henry. Shout out to Pino's in central New Jersey, Woodbridge, New Jersey, one of the best pizza spots in the area, not far from where I live. Actually, might have to pick up some Pino's later. It's snowing here in Jersey, so I might not. But when I get my Super Bowl grub on. But yeah. So all that happened, and then the thing with Alistair Overeem, man. I mean, that was his 67th fight. Most of his losses, I think I wrote a piece on him actually at MMAnews.com where he talked about from an interview he did leading up to this fight, where he talked about the longevity he's had in the sport and how he listens to his body and recovers from injuries and stuff like that. But I remember when this fight was happening, it made me think about towards the end of Cro Cop's, not towards the end of Cro Cop's UFC career, but kind of when he got into the UFC and we started seeing him taking some significant losses. Like when Cro Cop came over from Pride, we didn't see the Cro Cop from Pride come into the UFC. We saw Cro Cop that was that kind of got comfortable, new. It's like they look for the hype that they have behind him. Fighters like even Ronda Rousey might have been guilty of this. Again, I can't speak for them. You'd have to ask them. But it's like one of these things like fighters start believing their own hype. So it's like, they know they have the KO power and they're going to look for that way of winning when they get to these fights against these newer, younger, up-and-coming fighters. And it was weird because it looked like Overeem was looking up for and shelling up in his defense, but from trying to like counter off of Volkov, kind of made him vulnerable to what we saw happen. And I thought he was going to win. Just put that out there right now. I thought he was going to win at first, but then again, knowing where Volkov came from and seeing him fight, and then if you watch the podcast I do, shout out to Luke Lopez for watching my podcast on Tuesday, by the way, Coast to Coast Combat Hour. My co-host Matt Hawkins said to me, he was the one that pointed out that when Overeem loses, it's usually to someone that's as big or bigger than him. And Volkov had definitely a height advantage over him. So it's not too surprising that he took a loss. But it's just one of those things, again, about what I said about the guard changing in MMA and combat sports. It's one of those things that you have to look at when it comes to a fighter that's been fighting as long as Overeem has. Like it seemed to me that he was looking for, because he's got a significant number of KOs. Everyone knows, like there was that point where he was guillotining everyone, where he would catch everyone in the guillotine submission. So it's like I remember seeing that when he fought Miocic. It was like if he was where he almost kind of got it, and then when he didn't, it was kind of like, okay, and then, I'm not catching him with my power and strikes, and the guillotine didn't work, so I guess that's it for me, and then that's kind of like what that was my takeaway from the fight. I mean, it's just one of these things again. I mean, these guys, the UFC's talent is just so, like, they're the number one promotion for a reason. And that's what makes it interesting when you see guys like Volkov coming in, Chandler coming in from Bellator. You want to see where they stand when it comes to the UFC's filtering process of those top 10, top 5, top 5 guys. Speaking of which, one of the flyweights that you might have known if you follow Ryzen Fighting Championships, Manel Cape, which I think Aaron Bronstetter from TSN cleared up the proper pronunciation because people were calling him Cape or stuff like that. He picked up his decision against Alexander Pantoja. That was his debut. So you got a fighter coming in from another promotion and picking up a W in the UFC. So that's if again, I've said it before on this I was gonna say this podcast. I guess it's a podcast. And the previous Sunday submissions, if you're not watching the other promotions out there, that's where these guys, Volkov, Cape, they didn't come from out of the blue. They came from other promotions, not top tier promotion, maybe not regional, but I mean it would serve your interest to watch and see these guys come up because Cape had made some significant strides in Rising Fighting Championships. If you look on MMAnews.com, I'm probably one of the few people that write about Rising on there, along with the Fernando, who has bounced to greater pastures. But shout out to Fernando Quillis, who helped me do my 7 takeaways over here at MMAnews.com. But it was certainly an exciting weekend as combat sports resumes. Obviously, with the Super Bowl around the corner, you can't compete with where the focus lies now, which is why I'm recording this as early as I can. One of the things we have to look at here is there was some news that came out about where I just saw it. It's one of our top stories here about to go back to Mr. Hanmill's question about McGregor Poirier 2. One thing we saw at that post-fight press conference was it seemed like they were both already in agreement immediately after UFC 257 that they would definitely do a third. And then here we have Dustin Poirier tweeting out, we're going to do it a third time. Kind of just to let not only his opponent, because listen, I said it last week, I think, or after 257. You got to remember how that fight came to pass. They were about to do it themselves as a charity event. So, of course, I'm pretty sure if McGregor's willing to do more charity, that'll of course draw Poirier into it. And Dustin Poirier, he made the 1-1 symbol after the fight happened. So, I mean, come on, man, I noticed it immediately after that fight when I was watching it. I was just like, they're going to do it again. I mean, I know Oliveira's kind of right there, but, and then Chandler threw himself into the mix. I mean, it's crazy how the lightweight division, I feel like the lightweight division, even last year during the pandemic with the way it happened with the whole Ferguson-Khabib thing not happening, and then Khabib Gaethje happening, it's always kind of been at the forefront of the UFC's top divisions to watch, and it looks like we're going to follow that same wavelength this year. Yeah, so Dustin Poirier seems cool and McGregor seems to want it, so we just need to get a date and see how it happens. So, and then the other news that came out was this fight here of Diego Sanchez and Donald Cerrone. Looks like his apparent UFC finale when he takes fellow Grizzled veteran Donald Cowboy Cerrone. I mean, those are two guys that have been fighting for a while. Again, talking about the guard changing. So when you put two guys that get the veteran tag and the legend tag to them, I mean, two game fighters that always come, to bring it, win or lose, kill or be killed. These are those two guys. So it looks like, following the tweet released by Diego Sanchez announcing next opponent, MMA Fighting confirms Sanchez faces Donald Cowboy Cerrone May 8th. So listen, I mean, I know Cerrone is like probably one of these guys that you have to talk into retiring. Looks like Diego seems to recognize that the changing of the guard, as I said, and man, if it would be something if they both, like, imagine they left two pairs of gloves in the cage after that win. Regardless of who wins or loses, if that happened, that'd be something for the storybooks of mixed martial arts. And it's young, and because it's only we're only 26, 27 years old in this sport, as an official sport, as it's been climbing the uphill battle to get accepted into households and stuff, and for being these one-off things versus now it's on almost every weekend and on ESPN and CBS and stuff like that. Speaking of CBS, Bellator announced that Bellator is going to have a press conference on Tuesday with a big announcement, which I'm assuming it's going to be future dates and stuff like that. But listen, we already had UFC event on ABC, and I might have mentioned this before on previous Sunday submissions that I think they did that so they could be first because they know about the relationship. Bellator's already on CBS Sports, right? They've picked up quite a few names in their time off, as far as like signees. You got Anthony Rumble Johnson there now in their light heavyweight mix. I wouldn't be surprised if the big announcement that they announced on Tuesday is either it's going to be a change in where we can watch. Maybe it's CBS and CBS Sports, or Showtime, because if older fight fans might remember, Scott Coker had a great relationship with Showtime Sports and the whole Strikeforce thing. I mean, that's where I remember watching Gina Carano versus Chris Cyborg there when she lost to Cyborg. That was like such a big deal, such a big staple event. It's one of the. It wouldn't be surprising to me if the announcement has. I'm more leaning towards a broadcast type of, along with dates announcement. That's my number one. Number two guess is, excuse me. My number two guess is either going to be a new tournament for a new division. Where I know there's been a lot of mention of a women's World Grand Prix. It might be either that and or with all the new signees they got, they have Yoel, they got Rumble, middleweight, light heavyweight, who knows? But we could get one of those announcements too. Maybe both. Maybe two Grand Prix are going to happen. And what was the? Didn't I have a third guess? Did I tweet him out? No, I got to look at my own tweets because I don't remember stuff. That's what happens when you get old, folks. When you get old, folks. I'm sorry. The broadcast. Oh, and Ryzen. Because we know they co-promoted with Ryzen. Horiguchi came back the end of the year, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Horiguchi coming back to either some type of cross promotional thing with Ryzen again, which would be great with the CBS Sports / CBS platform, because you get more eyeballs, more newer fans aware of other promotions out there, and also promoting events with other fight promotions to let people know that the sport of mixed martial arts, the UFC is not MMA. MMA is one of the promotions within the UFC. I mean, well, reverse that. I can't believe I just said that. I meant to say the opposite. Mixed martial arts is the sport, and UFC is one of the promotions within the sports. I was trying to say the opposite because I know the UFC has been gunning to be like, people would love the sport being known as UFC, but it's mixed martial arts, and there's many promotions within it. I haven't even started drinking yet. I mean, it's early in the day, so my apologies. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Bellator announcement has something along the lines with that. And the only reason I'm saying that is because if you remember during UFC the UFC last pay-per-view when Michael Chandler, when they announced Michael Chandler coming in, it was one of the first times, I don't know if it's one of the first times, but it's definitely rare for them to mention Bellator or anyone's Bellator credentials. Because I remember when Eddie Alvarez fought, they were like, he was champion of another promotion. They didn't say that he was the lightweight champion in Bellator. And so when Michael Chandler was being announced right before the fight happened, he picked up his win. They were like former Bellator lightweight champion. So it was. I remember I wasn't the only one that noticed either. Nolan King over at MMA Junkie noticed it and was like, "Wow, I think that might be the first time they mentioned Bellator on the UFC." You know what I mean? So like I think the sport's growing so much that it's almost a time that if you're not going to cross promote, you have to at least acknowledge one another. And I think that's what we saw. That's what we're going to start seeing more of that. You know, especially with listen, not for nothing, with UFC Fight Pass, Dana White has scooped up so many regional promotions where a lot of these up and coming fighters come from. You know, chances are, even guys that fight at LFA, CES, these are promotions that are on Fight Pass. LFA, CES, CFFC, but a bunch of others that are under UFC Fight Pass. They do wind up fighting in Bellator when they get to these top tier Ryzen, Bellator, UFC, PFL. You know, that they make their way under these regional promotions. So I think it's just them trying to say now the sport's big enough. You know, but not for nothing. As the UFC gets more successful, all these other promotions can find more success. I mean, look at the Extreme Fighting Championships deal with NBC Sports. You know, they're going to have their event that, by the way, got now supposed to be in this month. Now it's going to be towards the end of March. But so look for us to cover more from them too. But kind of running over a little on time here. I know you guys got to look at your hot wings and stuff or whatever you're getting ready for your Super Bowl Sunday. I don't know who you got, but I saw that the Tampa Bay is the underdog. So underdog is what pays. So that's what I put my money on. You know, full disclosure, I don't really follow football. That's my brother's thing. But, you know, if the underdog wins, I get money. So that's who my money's on. All right. So enjoy your Sunday. Thank you so much for following along. Make sure you check out the other news that we get coming out over at MMAnews.com. If you're not following me on Twitter, so you can catch these on Periscope or Twitter Live. That's my Twitter handle at Carbazel. Thank you so much for watching this Sunday submission. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'm tapping out. Peace.